Hello, everyone. My name is Flavio Pereira. I'm Principal Product Manager on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We're going to specifically talk about SAP Terraform stack deployment. So I'm going to show how you can use Terraform to spin up your infrastructure to support your SAP application. Just going to be really quick. I'm going to give you an overview of SAP reference architecture and how we're going to deploy that environment. I'm also going to give you an overview of the Terraform stack so you can see what exactly is inside of those files, how the Terraform stack was created, and I'll give you a quick demo. So we're going to use the Terraform to spin up that infrastructure, and you can see all the resources that were created on the platform. This is the SAP reference architecture that will be deployed using the Terraform. We're using a single AD deployment. We're going to deploy everything on availability domain 1. As you can see, we have a bastion host on the public subnet along with the SAP web dispatcher and the load balancer that will be put in front of the SAP web dispatcher as well. On the private subnets, we have our SAP application server, our SAP Oracle database, our SAP router, and our FSS services to support as an NFS file system share among the services. Let's just switch screens and I'll show you how we can deploy the SAP infrastructure in OCI. So in order to do that, we have a GitHub repo on the OCI Quick Start organization. There's a OCI SAP repo. You can see here some details on how to install Terraform on your own machine. So in these steps, you actually clone that repo and what's the initial commands you have to do in order to deploy that stack. You can see as well the reference architecture that I was showing you before. So in order to start it, we're going to go here and we're going to clone that repo. I'm just going to copy that link. And I'm going to go to my terminal here and hit git clone. And I will clone the repo. So now we can go inside of OCI ASAP, the directory that was created. And then if we check the files here, we go to the single AD directory, and we can see all the Terraform files created, right? So here is where you're going to see all the resources that will be provisioned on the OCI infrastructure. If you look at those files, you can see their names as load balancer. That's going to contain all the load balancer information. The scripts for SAP, where that's going to go and execute all the configuration inside of the machine in order to have the file system created and everything. You can see the others like compute, block, FSS, VCN as well, right? So you are free to navigate it and explore those files, and especially the variables.tf file, where you can change some of the configuration that you want to match on your infrastructure. You can change, for example, the CIDR block of your network. You can change the shapes of your virtual machines that you want to deploy, right? So if you just go back real quick here on the repo, we can also navigate it through the web, and you can see that information right here, right? So if you go and check, for example, your variables file, you can see all that information here. So you can change your CIDR block, you can change the shapes of your virtual machines, the operation system version, and so on. Okay. All right. So let's go for a quick deployment. Once we clone, we're gonna do a Terraform init. We're gonna initialize the Terraform. And now that we did that, we can just do Terraform plan. And we can see that 51 resources will be added to our infrastructure. So plan is just going to go over and show what exactly is going to happen, all the resources that will be deployed. And to actually apply that, we're going to do a Terraform apply command. And we can just say yes and confirm that we want to deploy. So now the script is running, so that's going to go over and start creating all the resources inside of OCI. If I switch over to the browser one more time and go to my Oracle Cloud account, if I check here under the menu, go to the networking side and the virtual cloud networks, I can change here to my SAP compartment. And then I can see that the VCN was created already. We have information about the subnets that's required to stand up the infrastructure, right? Stand up the compute resources. I can see the NAT gateway, service gateway, secure lists as well, right? So this script's gonna take a few minutes to run. I'm gonna pause the video here and I'm gonna come back when it's done. All right, so we can see that we have 51 resources created on our infrastructure. So now we can go back here and we're going to take a look at one more time and make sure that everything was created correctly. So on the network side, as I was explaining, the VCN was already created, right? All the subnets, secure lists, everything that's related to the network was created here. If I check the load balancer portion, it also created the load balancer, right? As of now, it's saying the critical condition because I didn't install the SAP application on the web dispatcher yet. But it's actually pointed out to the backend of the web dispatcher's servers. So if I go to the compute instances, we can see that all the instances were created here. The database was created, the SAP router, the Linux application, the web dispatcher, and the Bastion host, right? So we spin up, it created all the resources for you. So now you can just access those machines using SSH for Linux through the Bastion host, right? To access those private machines on the private subnet. You can also use VNC if you want to in order to install and see the graphical interface. As you can see, we have all the infrastructure created and ready to get the SAP software installed